Good evening and afternoon, Razorback fans and faithfuls alike. Welcome into episode 57 of Hogs on the Hill podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Razor Pigs. Looking good never felt so fun. Razor Pigs is the Arkansas-born brand, bringing some serious style to the golf course, tailgate, and everywhere in between. From high-quality polos to head-turning hats, they've got what you need to rep the natural state with pride. Founded right here at home and now run by a Razorback-loving family, Razor Pigs is where comfort meets cool, so go hog wild. Shop Razor Pigs today at razorpigs.us and our friends over at Scarlet Letter, Arkansas's very own handcrafted spiked seltzer. You can check them out today if you're in Northwest Arkansas. You can even check out the Core Brewery tap room, where you can get all the Scarlet Letters in their various flavors, as well as their new hard teas that they just released. How are we doing tonight, guys?
About as good as I can be, I guess. How you guys doing?
Yeah, everything's good here. Just another long work day, and here to talk some receivers.
Exactly. But before we jump into that, there's a lot that's gone on this past couple days in terms of college sports and NIL, especially today, and the past couple days with some of the rulings coming down from the government, and then now with the executive order that came out today from President Trump. So we'll dive into that a little bit before we jump into talking about these wide receivers. But I mean, your initial reactions, guys, on what all happened today in the past couple of days in terms of college sports with the whole NIL things and rulings that have went down.
Yeah, so there were a couple different ones. So the big one, right, is the executive order by President Trump. And to be honest, in my opinion, is kind of it's kind of a little bit worthless when you dig down into it. Okay, because what they're doing is they're basically trying to stop this pay for play type of deal that's kind of been going on. In the spirit of NIL, it's supposed to be for a service, right? You're supposed to use your name, image, and likeness for some type of service. And the one way that people have been able to, skirt around it is using collectives like Arkansas Edge. So whenever this House settlement came about, pretty much you saw this shift from trying to pay players through revenue sharing instead of paying them through collectives. That way you could kind of keep a hold of it. And they also started using a clearinghouse. Now, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on with the clearinghouse where they're taking super long to get payments cleared. So they want to make sure there's a fair market value for each one of these payments. Like, they're not just saying, hey, tweet something about us and we'll pay you, $3 million to go to school here. All right. They're trying to keep a cap on stuff like that. With the executive order, basically, they're just trying to, let me pull it up. I got some notes. They're basically trying to curve that as well. Like, they're trying to create a system where they can curve it some more. And the problem is, like, in my opinion, I think they're gonna start just paying people under the table again. Like, I don't think getting money into these kids' pockets is ever gonna stop. Like, you open that Pandora's box, it's gonna keep going. And people have been paid forever, but not on this level. And I just don't think it's going to go away. So I really, there's not really a whole lot that it does. It just kind of more or less says, hey, we're going to create a group that monitors and, tries to make sure these payments are fair value. Which one, I mean, if you dealt with the government at all or been to the DMV, they take forever. And two, the clearinghouse is already taking forever. So I just, it's getting the government's hands into it, and it's just going to muddy things up to where they're just going to go back to paying people under the table, in my opinion. Now with the report that you sent me earlier this morning, it's basically saying that they're going to decide to treat collectives like legitimate third party NIL groups instead of like punishing them for not, offering a service or anything like that. They're gonna look at them like that, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the executive order today. So in my mind, it kind of feels like things were planned out this way, but I don't know for sure. But yeah, that's basically the gist of it, and it's a whole lot of nothing. It feels like to me, like it may be starting like a framework for something big or a big change. But there's still a lot of meat you got to put into this before you see anything actually come out of it.
Yeah, it's like I heard it described today. Is like this helps start pushing the ball up the hill, but you still got a long way to go. And for me, on the executive order topic, thinking about it and reading it through, to me, it's very generalized. Like,
yeah,
who, if you dive into it, who technically is third party? There could be a lot of things that fall under third party. That could qualify under this. So how do you necessarily define that? I know that it seems like this was a quick put out thing, and there's not very many specifics, and so that's what I think on that is like, how is that going to find a way for people to kind of work around saying, oh, I'm not necessarily a third party, things like that. And to your point, you've already opened this Pandora's box. At this point, it's like, I saw the quote, I think somewhere, where it's like, well, welcome back to the duffel bag gang and the McDonald's bag. So to, the age of college football. And then, in terms of the other, article I sent you about the House ruling and things like that, it's interesting to see, especially how that's going to affect Arkansas, especially with the news of Arkansas with Edge and NIL kind of dissolving, if you will, and breaking ties with the other company that was kind of supposed to be helping running the NIL program. With all this coming down, it really seems like things are falling apart, and a lot of Arkansas fans feel like Hunter Yurachek's not doing anything.
Well, he's certainly not tweeting. I mean, he can go out there and tweet about, the lawyers making nearly $1 billion and winning the whole raffle thing with Beth Saracen, but he's not commenting on this. And he's got his it's his job to have this unlocked. He knows what's going on, and he's just being silent. Now, just because you're silent doesn't mean you disagree or you agree or whatever, but it is just kind of not comforting to know that, or to not know what is going on up there or what the plan is, because we as fans have a whole lot of tied into this, right? We have a whole lot of money, time, emotional investment tied into this program, and we just wanted to see it thrive. We don't want it to be last again, right? He was last in NIL. This revenue sharing, I don't know how close we're getting to it, but I mean, it just seems like we're always like a little bit late to the party. And I think it's because of his hesitancy to like move forward with this now, like going with this, try to be ahead of it, right? You can't fight it. It's no longer fighting it. You just need to try to get ahead of it. But yeah, it's just, like I said, I don't think it's much also you brought up Edge. I don't know if they're going to stay or not, and they kind of just went about tweeting like normal. So I don't really know what's going to go on, but we'll see. And I mean, these kids are going to get paid. That's all we know. They're going to get paid. Now, here's the thing. I want to talk about this. It does not matter how much you change NIL or you legislate it if you don't fix the transfer portal. Because NIL wouldn't have nearly as bad of an effect as it does if it weren't for the free transfer portal.
Well, that's the whole reason they're transferring is because of money. So, like the whole sport, when you think about, we're all around the same age. You think about growing up, watching the game, watching McFadden, Hillis, and Phyllis Jones. those days and Ryan Mallett comes around, you know, the game is completely different than it was in those days. You know, there is no getting excited about a freshman or sophomore young guy. You're like, man, we're going to get to watch him for a couple of years. You have no idea. You have no idea who's going to be on your team the next year. So, and I don't know about y'all, but I'm getting sick and tired of watching the same teams play for the championship every year. So something's got to be fixed in the game. It's only college football. College basketball ain't broken because there's parity. You're always going to have parity in that. College baseball ain't broken because anything can happen in baseball. But college football is all about the money, and you can build a powerhouse. You got all this money. So NFL is a little different because those are grown men and they got their own lives at that point. But and plus they're all really, really good with 32 teams, but college, man, it's not an even playing field. And then, you know, you didn't even talk about this news that broke today. I mean, Clemson and North Carolina could be joining the conference. I mean, what are we doing here? This is just
I saw North Carolina. When did Clemson too?
Yeah, it's both of them.
Oh, yeah, it said North Carolina and Clemson could be the two teams leading the way as far as in terms of that. But, you know, to like your point there, Hobbs, is it's like, yeah, with basketball, you know, it's a little bit more evenly spread. Baseball, you know, any team can come out any given day and be able to put a good game together. But with football, like you said, when the talent is so stacked on these powerhouse squads that you can, you know, pay for, if you will, that's where the struggle is. And, you know, even though it's basketball, you know, I liked what Coach Cal said on the show the other day on one of his appearances. He was talking about, he's like, I'm not necessarily against the transfer portal, but hey, a guy gets one free pass to transfer. Hey, you don't know the situation. Maybe the recruiting was wrong. You know, coach leaves, you know, something that would warrant a transfer. But after that, no more. Or you have to sit out or something like that. Back when, you know, if you remember when Mallett transferred here, he had to sit out a year.
Yeah.
Let's go back towards that, where you don't have these kids just, you know, jumping ship left and right and, you know, jumping from one program to the next. Like, it's
here's where I would make a distinction too, right? First of all, I'm starting like more and more starting to get to the fact that I want like the Power 5 teams and the Group of 5 teams split into different conferences or different divisions, because it's just there is a significant difference between, you know, Colorado State and, you know, Alabama. Like we all see that difference in those Group of 5 schools don't really have an opportunity to compete at the level that Power 5 schools do. So here's what I would say. I would say split that, make it like Division 1, 1A, and then Division 1, 2A, or something like that. And then whenever you have these transfers, if they go down a level or go up a level, you don't have to sit a year. But if you make a lateral move, then you sit a year. If that makes sense. Because like if you're making a lateral move, you're chasing money. If you're making a move up, it's because you have the stuff to go place in a better team. If you're going down, it's because you need a little bit more work. So I think that's kind of more or less the happy medium. Because like say, what's his name? Matt Landers, right? He started at Georgia, went to Toledo, and it's not because of money. It's not because of, you know, problems. It's because he was not cut out for the SEC at that moment. So he went to Toledo, you know, went and, you know, built his skills, and then came to Arkansas, and he tore it up for half a season.
You want to talk about a guy that was wide open all the time that never got the ball? That's the most wide open player I've ever seen in my life. If our receivers ever. But KJ Jefferson's too busy eating Skittles, not worrying about it. So,
but you see my point though there, because like if we come up with that system where you get to transfer once without sitting out, we don't get Matt Landers, right? I think there needs to be a distinction between whenever you go down and when you go up in competition versus whenever you go side to side. So like if you have these, you know, the Luke Haas, Patrick Kudas, and Jalen Braxton's of the world that want to go to Ole Miss and get a bag, even though they say they're not going over there to get a bag, but allegedly that shouldn't be a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that should be a thing. But you talk about like some of these guys that have, gone to Missouri State or wherever in the middle of nowhere university. I think those guys should be able to play immediately. And the guys who build their what do you call it? Build their skills and everything and have the chance to move up, I think they should be able to do that.
Or they could do it as simple as this. You can only transfer once every 2 years. So,
Well, sometimes you get better in quicker than 2 years. In that case, we still wouldn't have got Matt Landers.
Twice in a 4-year eligibility period, maybe. I don't know. So,
yeah.
I don't know, but I'm just like, we got to start playing for the school more. I understand that, the money's involved, but man, come on, man.
Yeah.
You're only 18, 22 years old once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I wanted to read something too, kind of bouncing back and forth here on the talk about the executive order. After that came out about 2 hours ago, Coach Cal put out a tweet, or his team. He probably told him what to say, but we know how he mentioned he's not big on the social media. But in terms of what he said with that ruling, he said, "I'm encouraged by the president's executive order today. This is an important step forward and will create opportunity for meaningful dialogue and movement toward a clearer picture of college athletics for everyone. As we move forward, we must continue to do what's right for our young people and protect opportunities in all of college sports, Olympic sports, and specifically for the women who compete on all of our campuses. College athletics has been one of the great loves of my life because I've seen it transform lives, including my own, through opportunity education. As we continue to move into a new era, I'm encouraged by President Trump's executive order and dialogue that will be created to protect and grow the life-changing opportunities for young people."
I mean, it like the spirit behind it is like, I think everybody can agree with it. It's just the meat, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can talk the talk, but we need somebody to start walking the walk, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes 100% sense there. I mean, and yeah, it's interesting to see the least of what's going to come for this. This just came out today, so we'll see how it evolves over the coming months, and as we go into the football season. What kind of you've got the executive order out today, but what kind of revisions and things are going to be made to that? How is this monitoring system going to work? How logistically, and how are they going to? I don't want to use the word punish, but like penalize something that, if they find something, what is that going to look like? And so I think there's a lot of unknown about it. Like we said, you got a generalization of what's happening with it today, but I think in, the future, you're going to have more to come.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. We'll see how it goes. There's a lot to hammer out, and it's going to be a process. So don't. Basically, my message to people out there is don't think this is going to fix everything. Right.
Yeah, not at all. And so when you look at it too, we'll talk about it now that we kind of got through this a little bit. Is today it came out today that North Carolina and Clemson as well have been, in talks to potentially look to move to a bigger conference. That is, I saw that today. I was like, well, we just added Oklahoma and Texas. We're at 16 teams. You get North Carolina and Clemson to come over, you're 18 teams. You're if we're not already there, you're definitely in super conference area at that point, especially when you look at, and I can see the idea behind it. North Carolina's like, oh, well, we've always really been good at basketball. Their baseball program's decent. They just got Belichick. What's the football program going to turn into? Do they want to be in a, heavier weight conference, I guess, than the ACC? I mean, historically, the ACC, you've had 1 to 2 top teams, and that's been about it, where, you've been spread out across the SEC. But then, Clemson's an intriguing one, especially because we know they've been one of those top teams in college for the, they had a stint where, every year they were in that championship game, and they always have the recruiting. They're always one of those nationally known programs. But to add those two, I think would be very interesting in terms of especially looking at the the build and the split of the conference.
Yeah, so I went and pulled up the article you guys are talking. It's on the On3 article, right? I'm guessing you guys saw. Okay, so Clemson has been doing this for a while. So that's why, and I thought there was a little bit of a like a saying, hey, we're gonna stay in the conference a couple weeks ago, but it was Clemson and Florida State at that time. That, and this was last year, like 2020, at the beginning of 2024 or end of 2023, when all this was happening. And they had the big lawsuits, if you remember that, with the because they were trying to get that buyout from the ACC or the exit fees or whatever they want to call it. They had like astronomical fees. So yeah, no, this has kind of been in the works with Clemson for a little bit. Now the Tar Heels, that's a different story, because and I remember this now, that they were trying to, the General Assembly in North Carolina was trying to make this law to where the two schools, the North Carolina State and North Carolina, couldn't be in separate conferences, or they couldn't not play in a year or something like that, to like try and keep one with the other, because I mean it's a big rivalry over there in North Carolina. So, but yeah, Clemson, no, that's not a big surprise. They're like, everyone wants to talk about SEC being top heavy. The ACC is top heavy, and there's only like two schools over there that even, really count. It's right now it's Miami and it's Clemson. Historically, Miami, Clemson, Florida State. Now, to Brett Lashley's point, I don't know if you saw that the other day at ACC Media Days. He said that they've had, I think it's 11 different winners in the last 60 years or something like that, for the ACC tournament. And that's fine. But it's not been like that in the last like 20 or 30. I think Florida State and Clemson have won it 20 something times out of the last 30 something times. So obviously ACC is really up there whenever you talk about top heavy teams. So yeah, it makes perfect sense for Clemson to want to come over here. But I'm just saying, if Clemson comes over here, they're going to turn most likely into the next Arkansas. I'll be honest, like, there's like, since I started covering Clemson, there are so many similarities. They may have a little bit more excitement and money because they have that rivalry with South Carolina, and a little bit more recruiting power than Arkansas does. But dude, they're good in the ACC, and they have room to grow over there, but they're going to come over here with the Alabamas, Georgias,
what happened when they played Georgia to open the season last year, and then it's going to happen again this year when they play LSU to open the season.
I'm not going to give any predictions, but I'm probably leaning that way too. I don't know yet, but it's a different animal in the SEC. And I did a whole thing yesterday for Razorbackers where I talked about how the SEC has had 6 newcomers in its history: Arkansas, South Carolina, Missouri, Texas A&M, Texas, and OU. Not a single one of them has won the SEC championship. Texas might do it this year and may break the streak, but so far, none of those teams have done it. The SEC has had 3 teams leave, and they combined for 16 conference championships between the 3. So like, conference champions come into the SEC and they can't win, but SEC teams go out of the SEC and win conference championships. That's all you need to know about how hard it is to be in the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting too. And you talk about coaches taking shots, talking about Brett Lashley. I'm blanking on the name. Who was it the other day in these media days that just said, they asked him about canceling a series with Virginia, and there's like, oh, we're just going to, take the trend or the advice of the SEC and just, reduce our schedule.
Yeah, Kurt Signetti, I think that's how
he says. Indiana. Yeah, they asked him about canceling that series with Virginia. He's like, we'll just take some, things that they're doing over the SEC and make our schedule easier.
If you take off Michigan from their schedule, and you combine the opponent's records, it is 39 and 69. That's their opponent's cumulative record. It's 39 and 69. Yeah, it's you don't want another cupcake because you already have 9 cupcakes on your schedule. Like that's the difference. Like, hey, if he wants to trade for a SEC schedule, just come on and take Arkansas. We'll let you have it. We'll take.
Every year.
I think they'll take Ohio State and Penn State if it means giving you everybody else that we have. I'm just saying, like, if you really want to trade.
That or, you make this talk, then if the opportunity comes, why don't you just march yourself over to an SEC head coaching job?
I think
it's tough talking because he's just a 1-year coach, right? This is his last year was his first year as a Power 4 head coach. So like it's like you're talking a lot of talk to not have a whole lot of stuff under your belt.
Yeah. And even I mean that tweet last year about Indiana, like when you saw them in the playoffs, like what was that? And I guarantee you we're gonna play a lot better than they did against Notre Dame. So just I mean the week schedules, it's unbelievable. They were talking about that last year, Indiana getting in the playoffs with the weakest schedule ever. So it's just man, I wish we could benefit from that.
Yeah. I mean, and you talk about weak schedules, the perfect example sitting right out there on Arkansas' schedule this year is Notre Dame. They are the captain and king of weak schedules.
Hey, that first 4 games though, minus Purdue.
I will say they stepped up this year, but historically, they are in the captain's seat, full speed ahead with easy schedules.
And they want to talk about, we got rivalries with all these teams, playing for a bell or some kind of crap trophy, like it's just
Navy.
Like they don't.
Navy's one of their teams they play every year.
Navy, Purdue, Minnesota, USC. Trying to think of other ones. Northwestern, maybe.
You turn around and lose to NIU, and still somehow make the playoffs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But
and then
beat Georgia. They make the playoffs. They go to the finals, not just make it.
True.
They got talent, okay? Like let's not. Yeah, they got talent and they got a good defense. So I'm not nearly as confident as Hobbs is about it. Let's just say that.
I'll just say this: in the history of watching Notre Dame play teams, have you ever just seen them beat the brakes off of somebody? Okay, we can play.
Do you know how many games I watched from Notre Dame?
I mean, they're on TV all the time, NBC or whatever, ABC. So,
that deal what they have with Peacock. Yeah.
So they don't historically just run up the score. They don't historically have these great offenses that just run up and down the field. So listen, it's on our home field. Anything can happen. I've watched us go play Texas at 11 o'clock in the morning back in the day. Didn't stand a chance according to everybody, and then ran up and down the field against them.
Yeah, they were just a play short of make it interesting against Texas this last year at 11 o'clock. So
yeah.
A couple other notes before we kind of dive into talking about the Arkansas receivers. You saw the news this week and some of the few videos. Gage Wood officially signs his contract with the Phillies and is headed to Clearwater to get his major league career started.
Yes, sir. I saw that video and him signing and everything. I mean, it's just awesome. Good to see. He was pumped.
It's funny. It's that they asked him, one of the things they asked him first thing was if he'll stick with the Rooster as his, kind of walkout warm-up song. He said, I don't know. I liked it. We'll see. And talking about, because that's Zach Wheeler's former song that he walked out to in college. And for the pros. Yeah.
That's cool.
So, I think most of these guys have signed by now. If you look through some of the, trackers, if you will, I think I saw where they said that even Justin Thomas Jr. signed an overslotted contract, so he made a little bit more than kind of expected there. And so, all these guys, aren't, most everybody that's got
Houston
drafted.
basically saying, "Hey, come here.
Yeah.
We'll give you the money. Don't go back to school."
Yeah.
Right. So,
yeah. And I mean, if anybody deserves it after like best 9-hole hitter in the country, right? I don't know. I think he deserved it. And here's the thing. I think probably Houston thought they might have got a steal getting him so late too, because I mean, he's good. So we'll see how he does. And that's the thing. It's just so hard to keep up with these guys whenever they go to the MLB too, because like I'll be sitting here and I'm like, hey, I remember that guy. It's been like 7 years since I saw him play baseball, but I remember that guy.
Yeah, especially as not convoluted, but as busy as like the minors and the farm systems are, guys going to different teams up and down, getting, going to other teams and things like that. So yeah, it makes it fun to keep up with, from that perspective, but, be a lot of new faces for the Arkansas baseball team next year. And, that's what you got. And segueing into our wide receiver room talk, who is this wide receiver room? It's kind of like I, titled the on our, thumbnail for YouTube was like, there's depth chart battles across the board. And that it's even increasing with the injury to Ismail Cisse. He was expected to be one of the starters, and in a weird accident in the weight room, has it, issues with his wrist, has to have surgery. So now that kind of opens up another spot for somebody to step up. You're replacing your entire wide receiver room from last season because we all know you're losing Andrew Armstrong, SEC leading wide receiver in yards last season. Isaac Tesla, who's just a athletic freak, got drafted. Luke Haas transferred to Ole Miss, but he's hurt, unfortunately. You see several guys that were some of our top producers gone, and so now you're having to replace your entire wide receiver room now. And you brought in some guys that from lower levels, some guys you've seen this year that we played against, some guys that can they turn into that next Andrew Armstrong or Matt Landers? Can they be that next guy that's going to step up and come to Arkansas after being maybe at a smaller program and kind of turn it on, if you will? So, looking at it, two of the main top guys we'll talk about a lot of these guys, but, two of the big ones that are expected to play roles this year for Arkansas is one, Raylan Sharp, guy that was a redshirt junior last year, played at Fresno State, had 51 receptions for 523 yards and 3 touchdowns last year. A guy that, the big story with him was he's played for Bobby Petrino before when he was at Missouri State before Fresno, when Bobby Petrino was there, and, was on that team that, gave Arkansas a run for its money a couple years ago. So he's a guy that's familiar with Bobby Petrino, his coaching style, even the wide receivers coach.
Yeah, so I think he cut off a little bit there at the end, so I don't know what you said. But yeah, Raylan Sharp. I've been watching a little bit of his highlights, and there's not really a whole bunch of full games out there, but he reminds me a little bit of like a smaller, he's basically a slot possession type guy. There's not a whole lot of yards out to catch, but he's got good hands, right? And he's got the ability to get open, and he's fast. I think he'll do good, especially after having such a big slot in Isaac Tesla the last few years. It's gonna be a little weird seeing two guys out there that are like under 5'10" playing the slot, which you don't see that at all. But it's just such a big difference between Isaac Tesla and this. I don't know if you guys caught it too during SEC media days. I don't know if this was more a slight towards. It can't be a slight towards Tesla. It has to be more towards Satania, if anything. But did you catch where Sam Pittman was like, talking about the wide receiver groups, and he went to the slot and he was like, yeah, I think we significantly improved at the slot. And he was talking about Raylan Sharp and Cam Shanks. And I'm like, it's a little bit of it sounded a little jabby, if I'm not going to lie to you.
Well, I think they might be on to something. I mean, I don't know if it's a jab. I just think that this wide receiver group is really talented, and they have a lot of speed. They can catch the ball, and I think they can get open a little bit more this year. And my thing was, we had guys open last year, but we had some drop balls. And yeah, we did have some missed throws by Talon, but I mean, there was a lot of drop balls right in people's hands. So I think these guys are going to really, really do well in the system because this is a system where the slot receiver is really created open by the play calling. So, and with his speed and his sure hands, I think this guy's in for an incredible year.
Yeah. And that's like you said, this wide receiver room is extremely talented, but unproven at this level anyway. You look at those stats. 51 receptions is a lot of receptions, 523 yards, 3 touchdowns. So I'd love to see that yardage and touchdown numbers go up. But he was clearly a guy that got fed the ball a lot at his previous stop. So,
right.
If he can utilize that speed in this Bobby Petrino offense, like to Hobbs' point, this offense sets up these slot guys to where they can have that success and be key players. And so, a lot of talent in this wide receiver room, but a lot of unproven talent. At the end of the day, and we'll talk about Cam Shanks in a minute, but Raylan Sharp's one of your top slot guys that came in from the transfer portal. The other guy we got to talk about who has the potential to have some upside and be a key receiver is Omega Blake. Transferred in from Charlotte, was a redshirt junior last year, had 32 receptions for 795 yards and 9 touchdowns. So you see that only 32 receptions compared to Sharp's 51, but has more receiving yards and more touchdowns. This is going to be your guy that's going to be your bigger threat in terms of size, because if you look at it, how he's listed, he's one of your bigger receivers at 6'2", 180. Whereas like Raylan Sharp, we were talking about 5'9", 165. So he's got about several inches and 20 pounds on Raylan Sharp.
Yeah, he's there's not a whole lot of size in this group. It's pretty much him. CC before he got hurt, and he was still only 6 foot tall. And then Monte Harrison and Courtney Crutchfield, but everyone else is, kind of on the shorter side.
I was about to say the other guy that's got some size on this roster is a true freshman that Pittman said he's excited about, Antonio Jordan at 6'6".
Yeah, we'll get to him in a second. But yeah, no, Omega Blake, out of all of them, I think has the potential to be the number one guy. Like if CC wouldn't have got hurt, from all the stuff I've been hearing about him, I probably would have said him. But Omega Blake came on really late. He started to really understand the offense by the end of spring. So I'm hoping that he just hits the ground running whenever it comes to this August and whenever they start fall camp. But he's got the size, he's got the speed. He's going to be the over-the-top threat, right? You're going to have those guys like Raylan Sharp, who's going to be more the possession type guys, but then you're going to have Blake, who's going to have more yards after catch, who's going to have more of those deep shots thrown to him. So that's just kind of how he was used at Charlotte, and I think that's how they're going to use him here.
Yeah, this is the guy that could be your 1,000-yard receiver here. He is he's really good. So to be in Petrino's offense now with a quarterback that likes to target a guy that he can trust, I think he's going to be able to find out. And this is another thing about receivers is sometimes you get guys that are gamers, and I think Omega Blake is just that kind of receiver. So, so I'm really excited. I know in the college football game I'm killing with him. He had 13 catches for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns against A&M. Single-handedly helped me beat them. So, I mean, I'm really excited to see him play in real life.
I was about to say, if he wants to have that same stat line against A&M this year, I will take it.
That would be amazing.
So, two guys that I'm excited to see about. One guy that's familiar with Petrino's offense, another guy that has, the makings to be your next Andrew Armstrong, comes from a smaller school, and then can break out. It all depends on that continuity and that relationship that's been developed with Taylor Green over this, spring practice this offseason. I know they said that he's been working with receivers a lot in their free time, while they're, you finish the time between spring practice is finishing up and now. And so to see these guys, it's going to be interesting to see, who kind of emerges to the top and who kind of falls, and who separates themselves in this group. Another guy you got to talk about, when you're talking about the slot, is Cam Shanks, a guy that Arkansas saw last year when they played UAB early in the season, but another guy that, very much slot size, 5'8", 170, not a very big guy. Last season at UAB in 12 games had 62 receptions for 656 yards and 6 touchdowns. Not to mention is a tremendous punt kick returner as well, has that speed, it has the ability to, anytime can house, kick return, punt return, if given the opportunity.
Dude, let me tell you about this dude. I like I said, I've been watching a little bit of these highlight films and everything. You want to talk about highlights? Holy cow, this dude is. I mean, obviously it's against lesser competition, but dang, he can really break it whenever he needs to. There was this one play where they're running like kind of like a bootleg out to the right, and they have Shanks over there acting like a bubble screen, and then they're running some kind of concept down the field. Well, it's completely blown up. The quarterback's about to get hit, and he just pitches it back to Shanks with like 6 guys around him, like 6 opposing colored jerseys around him. And somehow he goes across the field, back behind everybody, and still makes like a 30, 40-yard gain. I'm like, you can't teach that stuff. That's just athleticism. And when you see stuff like that, he's going to be a dang good punt returner, because that's basically what it turned into. It turned into a punt return. So I'm excited about him. I think that sneaky, like if he can end up doing something decent in this passing attack, I think he may earn himself a look at some NFL teams on this 2026 NFL draft, just because of that punt return.
Wait, is he draft? I don't think
he's draft eligible. He's a redshirt sophomore.
Okay.
Yeah, plus last season, talking about punt returns and things, he led the nation in punt return yards with 329, punt return average in 20.6 yards per punt return. So you're not just catching the ball. He's getting you 20 yards on every punt return, and added 2 punt return touchdowns as well. Was a finalist for the Jet Award, which honors the most outstanding return specialist in college football. And he also was the team leading receiver with 62 receptions.
Hey, fired me up because I'm tired of losing games by dropping punts.
Yeah. No, they I think there are too. They went out and got one. Like they got a returner who is basically, they got him because he can return. And then what he can do on the offensive side of the ball, that's just a plus. But they got him because he can return punts.
Right. And I mean, it's like we said, you saw him in person last season when you played UAB. And if I remember right, he did pretty well against Arkansas last year.
Yeah, they had a pretty good size lead on us early.
Yeah, so, I mean, you know what you're getting in Cam Shanks on top of the scouting you do, but then, what a better way to recruit/scout a guy than watching him play against you. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Derek Johnson had a good touchdown against us, too.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, Derek Johnson says our running back room is solid. Derek, if you think that, go check out our video from last week where we broke down this wide receiver or running back room in more detail.
Yeah, they are solid. I think so too, man.
But yeah, so and that's just the top of the, or a drip in the bucket when you're talking wide receivers. So we've talked about probably your main three that you'll see a lot of this year, but then you start looking down the list as well. Other guys you want to talk about. One that Arkansas was excited about that transferred in, home state kid, Courtney Crutchfield. Spent a year at Missouri, and then, was very heavily recruited when we brought in Petrino last year. Kind of, he chose between Arkansas and Missouri, and I think maybe one other school, but, a guy that is from Pine Bluff, from Central Arkansas, decided to transfer back home. I think he is a guy that's very similar to what you're saying with Omega. Blake has struggled a little bit to pick up the playbook and have, pick up the offense a little bit, but is immensely talented. And, if he can, work on picking up that playbook as a redshirt freshman, spent last season at Missouri, didn't really do anything there. Could carve out a role for himself potential this year or next year.
Yeah, I think so. I think that too. And I just, like, if I could talk to him, I'd just say, hey, be patient, right? Because if you look at, half of the people from last year, they struggled with Bob Petrino's offense. Going in there and learning it year one is not going to be easy. I mean, if you looked at, if you watched the 4th and 5 podcast with DJ Williams, with Fernando Carmona, they talked about that a lot. It's not an easy, because DJ Williams knows about going in there and learning year one with nobody else knows his offense. So it's not an easy thing to do. And I think that throughout the season, he's probably going to get better. I think once he starts getting the hang of it, his talent's going to start overshadowing a lot of the guys that are behind him or in front of him. I mean, so yeah, it's just, it sucks that he didn't pick it up right there, especially when CeCe's out now. But I think throughout the season, you're probably going to see a little bit more as the season progresses.
Yeah, this is the guy that's probably the most athletic. I don't want to say they're all athletic, but as far as the most highly rated one and has this highest ceiling of all is Crutchfield. So yeah, I mean, like, I agree with Austin. Learning the offense. And once again, I'll say this again, sometimes you just got to give a kid a chance. Put him in the game. If he makes a play, keep him in there. If he don't, sit him down, show him what he did wrong. And, we got that first game of the year. Hopefully we can get to see him in there because I expect a 70-0 type of score. So after that, there's not really cupcakes. So maybe Arkansas State, but, yeah, let's – hopefully we can see him this year.
Yeah. Looking at some of the other guys on this depth chart here, you've got DJ Brown, sophomore this year. I think everybody, if I think of him last year, it's unfortunate that when you think about him, you remember that fumble he had against Texas late in the game when Arkansas had a chance in that game. And, he's in the game, catches the ball, fumbles it, and of course they recover it where just earlier in the game, Texas fumbles the ball, but, the ball rolls their way and it goes out of bounds, so they maintain possession. But, I hate that for him that, that a lot of people, that's what they remember from him from last year, but really talented kid from Bentonville, 6'1", 194, another guy that has the talent that can come out there, had some good plays last year in the playing time he did get. And so, another guy that, we're still waiting to find out who's going to step on the field in, that first group of three, if you will, in your wide receiver room. And then also, if he's not a starter at the beginning of the year, what does he do? And, throughout the year, does he get the opportunities? Does he prove himself? But, another guy that I'm excited about.
Yeah, I don't know. If you watched him in the spring game, you would see that there's something, like, not this year, but the year before, as a true freshman, you could see that there was something like special brewing there. And I think it was a little bit unfair to put him in that situation. Obviously, you gotta keep the ball, right. You gotta learn from that. But I don't want to make a whole entire, judgment call on one play. Whenever he played in 8 games and he had 5 receptions. I would caution people to give him, so much crap on just that one play whenever he obviously had a few other good plays. So, I think he's going to be good. I think he'll be a significant part of this offense, especially with CC out. If I'm thinking about the depth chart correctly. Anyway.
Hey, my first thing is, you want to make us forget about it? Do something to make me forget about it. So, and I feel like he's going to get that opportunity because, like you said, he's going to probably play a lot in this offense. And you're probably right. Year 2 under Petrino, he's probably knows his playbook better than a lot of the receivers on the roster. So he's going to get his chance. So let's make a play, big dog. Come on.
Yeah. Then in terms of talent, another true freshman you got to look at this year that Arkansas, I think, surprised a lot of people with the commitment is Jacaden Ferguson, 4-star prospect according to Rivals, committed to Arkansas. He was 3-star rated by 24/7 Sports, ESPN On3. Was the number 42 athlete in the class of 25 and 85 overall in Texas. Another talented wide receiver that chose Arkansas over schools like Alabama and Kentucky, Auburn, Georgia, LSU, Miami, Missouri, Oklahoma. A lot of big time programs on that list. And a fun fact with him that they have listed is that his uncle actually played at A&M and was an NFL wide receiver from 01 to 09. So that's gonna be fun with the family putting on that Razorback red instead of the gross A&M maroon.
Yeah, he actually smartened up and made a better decision than his uncle.
Jeez, that's gonna be a fun game for them and his family whenever they come up here because he's probably I feel like he's probably gonna redshirt this year, right? Not gonna have a whole lot of a lot of playing time you see from him, but if it's a home game, he's gonna be there and dressed out. I guarantee you. So that'll be a cool thing for him and his family to see that I guess little internal rivalry with them between A&M and Arkansas and. To a small, probably a smaller degree, that actual rivalry between Arkansas fans and Texas A&M. I mean, look, it's been 15 years or so since they played in Fayetteville.
Been a long time.
Been a long time. So
last time they played in Fayetteville was 2013. So 12.
Okay, so 12. Yeah. So it's due. Like Arkansas needs to shake that monkey off their back from Jerry's World and get a win against them. And I think I don't want to get into it right now, but I think it's doable with him. But I think that'll be a cool moment for him and his family.
Yeah. And then one guy that, we had heard Pittman address about it at SEC Media Days that could fly under the radar that he's excited about himself is one freshman by the name of Antonio Jordan, 6'6", 230. And where else is this kid from than Warren, Arkansas? Historically, that produces Arkansas talented Arkansas wide receivers. You just look back at all the wide receivers that have came through Arkansas that's from Warren. Something different is in the water down there that just makes these kids super athletic, gifted. He is rated as a 3-star prospect. I think he's probably a lot higher than that because they talked about how with some of these high caliber wide receivers, they. In terms of pay to play, he didn't go to these big fancy camps and these big 7-on-7 types things. Like he didn't do any of that. He just played high school football at Warren and, showed what he can do. Chose Arkansas over Florida State, South Carolina, and Tennessee, some top programs there. But a guy that, 6'6", easily one of the biggest wide receivers on your roster. And I can't wait to see what he can do in a Bobby Petrino offense. If you remember some Warren wide receivers that were in a Bobby Petrino offense before, they definitely put up some numbers.
Yeah. I'm excited to see him too. And you hit the nail on the head right there. I mean, these guys, they just go down and they play football, and then they get noticed. Like, to me, it almost makes me think more of you if you don't go to these camps and you still get noticed. Because that means you did something pretty dang crazy for some college scout to come see you and get your name out and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm excited to see him. Traylon Burks was the same way, right? He was a 4-star out of high school, but most likely talent-wise, he's probably pushing closer to a 5-star type of guy out of high school. Now, I don't know if Antonio Jordan's like this, but he is tall. He is very tall. He's more like a Greg Childs guy from Warren versus, all the other guys that's come from Warren. So, but yeah, carry on that legacy. You kind of have a little bit of pressure behind you too. So I hopefully it doesn't get to him, and he just keeps on the track.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6'6", sign me up. Hey, I love to see it. He's tall, from Warren. So hey, I'm ready to see
Not
him
just
play.
Tall. That Tim Benton was talking about how he was like a very gifted athlete too. So I mean, if he's that tall and he can jump and run and stuff,
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
Throw it up to him, let him go up and make those contested catches. But he helped Warren go to 9-4 mark and to the Arkansas 4A state playoff appearance, and he scored 4 touchdowns in his final high school game in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, man knows how to put the football in the end zone. And so, hopefully he can help Arkansas with that this year. And especially, if you're wanting a guy, we talked about these other guys, Raylan Sharp, 5'9", Cam Shanks, 5'8", Omega Blake, 6'2", biggest out of those 3. If you're wanting a guy to come out there with size to compete against some of these bigger SEC DBs or to have a kind of bigger end zone target, perfect guy right here, 6'6", 230. Let him go in the end zone, jump up and body up a man. Like this is the guy you want doing it.
Yeah. Now, I still don't expect him to do a lot. I don't expect him to redshirt though, especially with CC being out. That really puts him probably just hearing how everybody's been talking about him, probably puts him in a 3 deep. So that'll be exciting to see him go out and play a little bit. Hopefully that gets him really ramped up for next year, and he can be maybe wide receiver 1, another wide receiver 1 out of Warren.
Yeah,
I'd like that.
A few other names to talk through briefly. Another guy that I wanted to see get more work last year, hopes he gets some opportunities this year, is the 30-year-old sophomore Monte Harrison. A guy that came in last year, as we know, had the history of playing in the majors, Major League Baseball right out of high school, and now he's coming back with that college eligibility and as a sophomore. He knows what it takes to be a pro in terms of how to take care of himself, how to, take care of his body, how to be very professional in terms of things. And a guy that I wish we would, like I said, wish we would have saw more of last year. Can't wait to see if we get the opportunity to see more of him last year. Got 6'3", 230. So a guy that has some size as well. If you're wanting to get some guys, that aren't all slot receivers, he's a guy that I think has some potential.
I do too. No, I don't see him being a wide receiver 1 or anything like that. But I do. And I hope it's not just like me wanting it, because let's be honest, he's living like all 3 of our dreams right now. As pushing middle-aged men over here. That's just one in and of itself is amazing. Being able to go back and do that, and like, I don't want to say it was a mistake to go to the MLB, but like repick that decision, and do football. That's just so cool to me, and I really do hope he kind of breaks out a little this year, or at least has a nice rotation. But he's got the skills to do it. He's just a little bit older. He's not. I don't know if he's a little bit slower, but he does. I don't know if it's just my mind playing tricks on me. But he kind of does. Is a little bit slower out, like making the breaks and stuff, but. At the same time, you've been playing baseball for, over a decade now, and there's not as much burst in cutting and, change of direction, or at least the constantly change of direction and burst and stuff. So maybe this year he'll be a little bit more conditioned with it. I kind of hope he does, but yeah, I'm excited to see him. And I might fanboy over him if I go meet him one day and get his autograph, because And he's only going to be the one that I do that with. I'm not going to do that with like 18 and 21-year-old dudes. I'm going to go to the guy that's my age and that's like, hey, you're my hero, dude. You're out there doing what I wish I could do.
Yeah, I mean, if he gets any kind of playing time and does something, you talk about going to be the story of college football, because every time I get on TikTok or YouTube or something and I start scrolling, I see Arkansas has a 30-year-old sophomore receiver, and it's like people are amazed by it. And of course, you got hateful comments about give it up, get a job, whatever. It is a job, you know. And he's also getting a degree too at the same time. Like, you know, I laugh at those comments because it's like he's sitting there doing something that you didn't even get close to doing. He got a chance to play in Major League Baseball for years. No, he didn't really play he was in the minors, and then he's going to get to go to college to play football too. Like, not many people can say they've done that. So, regardless of what he's accomplished in it, but yeah, I mean, that's people that sit on the couch and don't do crap for themselves are the ones that make them comments.
Yeah. Transplant Texan saying here, he said, Unc Harrison got some love from Ocho Cinco recently.
Yeah, I saw that.
So want to see him get some burn this season. I agree. I mean, it's like you said, he comes out and has a big game. That's going to be the story for the next week. He comes out and has, 5 catches, 100 yards receiving and a touchdown, something like that. Man, you're going to talk about setting the world on fire as far as, topics and being talked about. But yeah, to your point, a guy that's living out multiple dreams of, he played and got drafted, had some stints with the major leagues, but majority minors, and then now gets to come play college football. Like, talk about the definition of a man amongst boys, grown man out on the field.
Yeah, he's literally playing Road to the Show and Road to Glory. I mean, he's getting to do it in real life.
Yeah. Like Transplant Texan said, he did have a job in the minor league or MLB minors and is coming back. It's not like he's some of these 25-year-old guys that haven't even left college yet.
Yeah.
Remember that Brandon Whedon quarterback at Oklahoma State that was
Yes.
like 27 when he got drafted? Yeah.
Like, that's crazy though. Like, because that he's not trying to get drafted, right?
No,
he's just trying to go get a degree, and he's trying to have some fun on the way out.
That's what I was going to say. He's getting his degree and having some fun, playing some college football.
Yeah, and you know what? If he gets done with this and some team goes out and tries to, give him a free agent deal, I mean, that's just cherry, on the ice cream. That's not even like a care to him really. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what like makes me like him even more, because you don't really have that threat of him wanting to like take more money and leave somewhere else, because he's not ambitious in that way. He's doing this like we've been talking about, most of this episode.
He's not going to catch a 80-yard, 90-yard touchdown pass and then transfer.
Yeah, he's not going to do that because he's doing it for the love more or less. Like there's no reason to be doing it to be I can't think of the word. But he's not out there trying to get another bag. He's out there to play football and get a degree, which that's what everybody wants to see nowadays.
Yeah. Some other guys to talk about. You got Andy Jean, transferred in from Pitt, redshirt sophomore, 6'1", 184 from Miami, Florida. He spent the 2025 spring at Pitt going through practice after he transferred from Florida. So technically he's a Florida transfer that spent his spring at Pitt. But, last year at Florida only, saw action one game against Mississippi State in his second year, then transferred to Pitt. So a guy that, not a lot of stats on, a little bit unknown about, that has some opportunity as well. When you look down the rest of this kind of wide receiver room in this roster, you've got Jaylen Brown, transfer from Florida State, Cross Johnson, redshirt freshman, 5'10", 176, another one of those slot type guys. Riker Acebo, 5 wide receiver, 6'4", 201, redshirt junior, kind of a guy that, is on the roster, kind of living his dream. Zach Taylor, redshirt freshman, 6'4", 173 out of Texas. Grant Carnes out of, it's a true freshman, 6'1", 180 out of Greenwood. Jace Petty, that's been around the program for a while, redshirt junior, 5'8", 172. And then rounding out the wide receiver room, Walker Katsavis, wide receiver, redshirt junior, 6'4", that came in from Arkansas State.
Yep, they got some cats there, dude. We went over them pretty quick, but the Jalen Brown and Andy Jean, I think they can be pretty good. And I think they'll probably be in that starting rotation as well. I mean, Andy Jean, he only had 6 receptions for 97 yards, but that's 16.2 yards per reception. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but if you do that with so little receptions, you either had a really, really long one, which his longest is 32 yards. So that's not the case. Or he's got a little bit of yards after catch type stuff going on. And I think whenever you have like the possession receiver, like Raylan Sharp, and you have the over the top guy like Omega Blake, you need somebody out there that's getting yards after catch. And that's up for grabs. Andy Jean, CJ Brown, Jalen Brown, all those guys over there. Heck, whatever his name is, Antonio Jordan, be those yards after catch type guys, and you're gonna have a spot on this team.
Yeah,
everybody loves the yak.
I heard somebody, and I can't remember what show it was, is like with Arkansas not having really a solid receiving core, or with a whole new receiving core, do you think Petrino is going to throw to the running backs a lot more this year? And I mean, maybe there's some plays there where you check it down, but Petrino is not scared, and he didn't just recruit these guys and tell them, come on over here, just to throw in it, just to say, we're not going to run this offense with a second-year quarterback on the helm, senior quarterback that's who was actually said that one show's called him the best NFL prospect in the conference.
Not quarterback either.
Huh?
Not just quarterback.
Receive what?
I said he not just quarterback. You said best. I don't know how you phrase it, but whenever people are hearing that, they're thinking he's the best quarterback prospect in the SEC. That's not what the dude said. He said the best prospect in the SEC. So, like, I don't know. I think he's a little bit, pushing that a little bit.
He ain't going to be no receiver or nothing. He'll be
but,
6'6". He can run as fast.
No, not receiver. Like, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that he is the best prospect out of everyone else in the SEC. That's what he said as a quarterback.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at what they've done with quarterbacks in the NFL draft. Anthony Richardson. What did he ever do at Florida? And he got drafted off of talent. Daniel Jones. What did he ever do at Duke? They draft these quarterbacks based off the combine and what they can do in the NFL. And the NFL is a lot, slower down game too. So, like as far as like being able to, have more talent on the field with you. So, I just feel like, I posted that poll the other day. Is he a top 3 round draft pick? And, somebody called me an idiot for asking that. Like, okay. I mean, this ain't my first year watching football. I know what these guys look for.
Right. Hey, AJ McCarron would be mad at you for saying that too.
Well, he's an idiot.
Dude, I can understand like you not agreeing with that, but like why you gotta be so ugly about it?
Rails about throw her the football. Where was that at?
All I'm gonna say is that in Taylor Green's first year at Arkansas, he threw for more yards than AJ McCarron has ever done in a single season. Okay.
Yeah, AJ
Let's
McCarron
just say that
also had Derrick Henry getting 10 yards of carry.
Like when you think of game managers, that is what AJ McCarron was. So
Yeah,
and now he's doing a podcast.
Yeah, it cracked me up because you see his co-host talking about he's like, I'm really excited about Taylor Green. And he's like, excited about what? See him run. He's like, did he change and start throwing his left arm? Because if he's throwing with his right arm again, I don't know, just something like you said, like going off the rails. Like you could say, yeah, I'm not that impressed, but to flat out just
like did Taylor Green steal his girl, or like what's going on with it? Like I don't know what the hate was.
My
for.
thing is like
it just came out of nowhere.
Another thing is like, we just forget that what he did last year. I don't understand how you can go from talking about Lagway and Sellers being they're going to be all this and that, like they put up better numbers than he did. I just don't understand it. So, and they're probably playing with a little bit better talent than Green is. So, I'm just I'm confused by the negativity, and a lot of it's coming from the own fan base too about this and that, and he can't score touchdowns, makes bad throws. Okay, whatever. I mean,
man's got to have some help. You've got to have wide receivers that'll catch the ball for you, not drop it. But also, you've got to have an offensive line that's going to give you time to make those plays.
But the thing is, he didn't have any of those things.
Offensive line,
right? He didn't do. He did all of that with the 111th graded offensive line per PF. Right at 136, they were 111. They were not good at all. Let's just be clear about that. So yeah, no, he did that much with a crap offensive line and a wide receiver core that would drop wide open passes. Like
one receiver.
Yeah. Well, two of those interceptions he had were off of tips. One was I think because he got sacked. The other one was because of what's his name, Broden. So it just doesn't make sense why people are like so upset. Yeah, sometimes he carries the ball out like a loaf of bread, but you know what? So did Matt Jones. That was one of the things that I hated watching. Like now, when I go back and watch, I'm like, dude, like tuck it. Like, what are you doing? Taylor Green's much better at tucking the ball than Matt Jones ever was. Okay, let's be real. Now, whenever he's,
remember the play against Auburn last year where he straight up hurdled a guy running down midfield. DB tried.
Well, he did. He pulled an Antonio Brown.
What he said in the SEC media days, because he's put on a little muscle. And
he said he learned last year about how he had to take care of his body better, how he needed to, pace himself, if you will.
He said something about hitting linebackers. I'm like, all right, chill out now. You need to get down.
It's like, don't go all KJ on us and just try to run through everybody.
Let's not be Tim Tebow out here. Let's get down. So we got a long season ahead.
Hey, you know what? That first drive against Auburn was incredibly physical. That's the most physical I've ever seen him be. And he's out there just running a full on him, and then he goes and he pulls an AJ Brown and kicks the dude in the face. Did you see that? AJ Brown tweeted out after it, and he was like, "Yeah, whatever AJ Brown does nowadays." But I'm like, that's super cool.
Yeah,
and it's legal. That's what kills me, is that you can go out there and kick a dude in the face and it'd be legal.
Oh, Transplant Texans said, old AJ, not at his finest evaluation. He was more critical than Hawks fans have been. So, yeah, that made news this week of him just ripping it. And then, go check out Austin's video if you haven't seen him that he made with that, kind of putting some things together. Fantastic. But kind of as we get back to the playpen like we talked about last week of wide receivers, as we heard you guys back to this, as we kind of wrap up this wide receiver room talk, Jaylen Brown is an interesting guy to think about. 2023 was ranked as the number 10 wide receiver in that class. Number 14 overall recruit in Florida by ESPN. Nation's 68 overall prospect. Goes to LSU his freshman year, played in 3 games, and preserved his red shirt. Transfers to Florida State. We know what kind of season Florida State had last year. Started 2 games, played in 9, 8 catches, 75 yards. He did catch 2 passes for 11 yards in this first career start in the season opener against Georgia Tech. And now he's here at Arkansas. So he's an extremely talented wide receiver that, just hadn't found his spot, but maybe some fresh opportunity. He can showcase his talent here at Arkansas. But I mean, to see that you are both LSU and Florida State, which have been historically great programs, I mean, that's some talent right there that, like we said, and you said, Austin, could be a guy that you could see getting a handful of snaps.
Yeah, and him and Andy Jean came in late too, so it's not like they were here for the whole spring and whatnot. So I do want to see them get a whole camp under their belt, and let's look at the wide receivers then, because I think they're going to bring a lot of competition that they didn't necessarily have in the spring. So yeah, like I'm really low-key excited about these Andy Jean and Jaylen Brown both, because they both have the qualities that you want in a stereotypical elite wide receiver. So yeah, no, I'm excited about him for real.
Yeah. I mean, he's the number 4 receiver on the roster on the video game. So 81 overall. So he's got talent. A little worrisome that he's been to 2 top tier programs and haven't seen the field or done much with it. So hopefully Bobby Petrino can get him right. And when he gets his chance to play, he does something with it.
Yeah. So, this group is going to be going to contribute to a lot of the success that this Arkansas team is going to have this year, especially Taylor Green as well. We've talked about it before. Offensive line is going to play a big part, but your skill guys. We know what type of running back room he's got, so he's going to have some help behind him there. But when it comes to the type of season he can have, other than being able to run the ball really well, like we kind of talked about in that quarterback preview show, these guys are going to play a big part of the season to how successful Arkansas can be, but also to how successful Taylor Green can be as well.
Yeah, exactly. I still think, we'll get to it when we get to the offensive line. I still think that's the biggest X factor going into the season, whether or not they can gel and, be a better unit than they were last year. But certainly the wide receivers, they're a hinge point in this offense, right? Everything basically works off of how well they can be. Now, the good thing is that Bobby Petrino is very good at scheming people open. So we'll get to see some good offensive football this year is what I think. But whether or not they take that extra step, I think really more or less depends on the offensive line. I think if you got guys out there with hands and they can catch, you're going to have a good wide receiving group with Bobby Petrino's offense.
Agreed, 100%. So as we get ready to wrap up here,
helps the offensive line real quick, being able to make 15, 20-yard pass plays, because then you can't stack the box as much, and you got less that you have to keep protect in the backfield. So that is going to be crucial as well.
Yeah, 100%. We'll get to them in the coming weeks and talk about this offensive line. But in terms of receivers, before we get ready to wrap up and get out of here, you guys got anything else on this wide receiver room for Arkansas coming in this year?
No, sir. I think that's about it for me.
I think it goes back to, like we said at the beginning when we started talking about it, a lot of talent in this wide receiver room, just unproven talent. So time to go out there and show us and prove to us, how talented you can be with this offense. An offense that's meant for wide receivers, that's the Bobby Petrino offense. Let's air it out. Let's get these guys down the field, ball in the hands of these receivers. This is not a ground and pound offense. So, these receivers have the opportunity, all the opportunity in the world coming their way in this 2025 season to, be in an offense that, tailors to wide receivers. So as we get ready to wrap up here, don't forget to like and subscribe to the show on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast. Go follow all of our social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're across all the platforms, even Blue Sky.
MySpace.
Not quite there yet. Hobbs, if you want to go make us a MySpace page, go for it. But yeah, this was our wide receiver room breakdown. We're going to get to more position groups as we go. But if you missed it, last week we talked about the running backs. 2 weeks ago we talked about quarterbacks. So go check those out. For Austin, Hobbs, myself, we're going to get out of here. We'll see you guys on Sunday for our Razor recap. And everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you when we see you.